Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? On Monday, we gave you an update on Jarvis Landry, and there were reports that Jarvis and the Saints might be sort of rekindling their conversations. Well, Ian Rappaport of NFL Media today reported that the Baltimore Ravens are interested in Jarvis Landry, and so the pursuit for Jarvis and a landing spot for him for 2022 continues, and where that may be. The Saints and Jarvis spoke before the draft, and obviously they did not consummate a deal. And then the Saints go out and they draft Chris Olave. And the point that I've made over and over about Jarvis, is going to be very clear, is I would be absolutely thrilled. I would be over the moon if the Saints did, in fact, sign Jarvis Landry. But I also think that if you're Jarvis, you realize there's better opportunities where you get more targets and potentially more money as well. That would just make more sense if it did play out that way. So, Rappaport reporting that that Jarvis has interest from the Ravens makes sense, because when we talked about this last week, the first two teams I mentioned that made the most sense for Jarvis Landry were the Ravens and the Falcons, and the reasons are kind of obvious. Baltimore Ravens, they trade away Hollywood Brown on draft night, and they didn't draft a receiver. If you look at last year, the Ravens' leading receiver was Mark Andrews, so their tight end was their number one receiver last year. Then pass catcher Hollywood Brown, who's no longer there, and then Rashad Bateman. So you really don't have great options at receiver if you're Baltimore. You need it. Mentioned Atlanta. Kyle Pitts was their leading receiver, a tight end. Russell Gage was their second leading receiver. He's now in Tampa. And then their third was Cordero Patterson, who's actually played running back last year. And remember, Calvin Ridley is suspended for this entire season. So the Falcons need receiving options. The Green Bay Packers. Jarvis Landry was trending earlier with all the teams, fans and reporters from different teams talking about who would make sense. The Green Bay Packers. Obviously, Devontae Adams is now a Raider. Valdez-Scantling is no longer there. So Allen Lazard is the leading returning receiver in Green Bay. Jarvis would make a lot of sense there for Aaron Rodgers. The Tennessee Titans, they traded A.J. Brown to Philly. Julio Jones is obviously still a free agent. Yes, they drafted Tre'Quan Burks, but certainly Tennessee could use receiving help as well. So the point is, and continues to be, what I've said over and over, is that there's just better options for Jarvis, where he is going to have, Jarvis Landry will have other opportunities to where he will have more targets and have an opportunity to probably to make more money as well. Because when you look at just the salary cap situation as well, New Orleans, if you look at Spotrac or over the cap, Saints have somewhere in the neighborhood of $17-18 million in cap space. That's not yet counting Tyrann Mathieu's contract. We don't know how that's structured yet. Those terms have not been released. So once those are released, then we'll know how much of a cap hit Tyrann will cost this year. But remember, you've also got to sign your draft picks, which is going to cost about $3 million to do. So if you look at 18 less 3, puts you at 15, whatever Tyrann's going to cost you this year, and you still would like to sign a running back, and you'd like to sign a tight end if that were available, maybe some defensive tackle help, and you have to leave yourself some room to be able to make those deals, and maybe you'd like to extend Chauncey Garner-Johnson this offseason. So certainly you could backload a contract so you take a smaller cap number this year, but the point is they still have work to do. So it's unlikely they're going to take the remainder of their free cap space and spend it on a wide receiver, which is why you look at Jarvis and say there's probably better opportunities elsewhere for him. I do think that there are options for the Saints, though, if you're looking at wide receivers. And most of the market has dried up. I mean, just call it what it is. You're late in the process right now, and you're probably just talking about guys that are veteran players that are going to be, looking for the best opportunity. I mean, you've seen some guys get big-time deals like Christian Kirk and Allen Robinson, mentioned Marquez Valdez-Scantling. signed a $30 million contract in KC. Russell Gage got $30 million from Tampa. Good for him, right? I mean, a lot of those free agent receiver deals are done at this point. So, when you look at who's still available right now, the list is not very long and or distinguished. There are 70 players, but at the top of the list, if you look at Spotrac, they list Julio Jones and Jarvis Landry and Will Fuller and T.Y. Hilton and Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders, of course, spent time with the Saints. I think you look at, and it's interesting that Emmanuel Sanders is there because I think that if you're the Saints is what you're looking for. You're looking for what Emmanuel Sanders was in New Orleans a couple of years ago. A guy who certainly is long in the tooth, is not in his physical prime anymore, but you're not asking to be a lead receiver. You're asking him to be a complement in the offense where Michael Thomas is your bell cow. And Sanders was that for the Saints a couple of years ago. I don't know that at 35 years old, that's really the direction that I would love to see them go, but that's an option. Julio Jones is 33 years old. My guess at this point is that Julio Jones is going to want to play somewhere where he has the opportunity to win. Maybe Green Bay is that spot for Julio Jones. He started 10 games last year in Tennessee, caught 31 passes for 434 yards. If Julio Jones came to New Orleans and was a veteran presence, good in the locker room, to mentor Mike Thomas, Chris Olave, and he gave you 31 catches for 434 yards, I would take that. For my number 3, I would take that in a heartbeat. T.Y. Hilton's 32 years old. He played in just 9 games a year ago, 23 catches for 331 yards. I would be inclined to take that from T.Y. Hilton as well, if you could get it affordably. The other guy that's sort of a wild card in all this is Will Fuller. Because of these veterans, he's the youngest at 28 years old. It was really an odd scenario where Will Fuller had been with the Texans and he went to Miami last year with the Dolphins and just played in 4 games. He broke a finger and then they put him on IR. And it's so weird because, they had Parker down there and they got Gesicki and they got a lot of really good options, but look at what they did. You bring in Tyreek Hill here in this offseason. You draft receiving help. I mean, they have really bolstered that offense. Teron Armstead obviously is there now as well. They've really bolstered that offense around too, and it's clear Will Fuller's just not part of their plans and wasn't a year ago either. So, he signed a 1-year contract a year ago. He's a free agent, and he may be a guy that in New Orleans, as a number 3, would make a lot of sense. So, they do have options. I understand where if you're a Saints fan, if you're an LSU fan, you're aching to see Jarvis Landry in New Orleans. I just think the way this is playing out, it's just clear. There's going to be other teams who need like immediate star receiving help, and Jarvis is going to have that opportunity somewhere else that he wouldn't necessarily have in New Orleans. And because other teams are a little bit desperate at this point, they're probably going to give him closer to what he wants financially than the Saints would be able or willing to do. So I do think the Saints still need receiving help and probably will add a receiver somewhere along the way. I just don't think it's going to be Jarvis Landry. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.